and I remember the first time everyone saw Angry Birds with arms and legs. What a time to be alive. What, not that time? I said the first time! Angry Birds had done plenty of crazy crossovers before. Rio? Well, there are birds in there. Star Wars? That is one of the biggest movie franchises of all time. But Transformers? I think it's safe to say everyone was surprised by that. The initial cinematic trailer captured that 80s VHS cartoon vibe perfectly, and while the game strays away from that charm a bit, there's still a lot to love here. In my conquest to cover every Angry Birds bird, I have no choice but to go through every Autobird in this game. That's right, all of them. If you haven't checked into the game for a while, let me just fill you in on how many birds that is. 88! That is not a joke, people. This is the biggest group of birds we've ranked in this series yet. Thankfully, most of them are reskins for the main flock, so here's what we're gonna do. I will go through each main Autobird thoroughly, and then rapid fire the copycats afterwards. It'll be pretty similar to the My Singing Monsters video I just did. That way this video isn't 3 hours long or something. I may be an expert on all things Angry Birds, but I'm gonna be completely honest. The extent of my Transformers knowledge doesn't go much farther than Bumblebee. So to anyone out there who loves Transformers, just remember I have absolutely no knowledge of those characters. Now listen up, people. I'm about to list all the birds right here, right now. Even the reskins. Our list for today includes Optimus Prime, Energon Optimus Prime, Ultimate Optimus Prime, Epic Optimus Prime, General Optimus Prime, General Optimus Prime Neon, Optimus Maximus, Blur, Ultra Magnus, Neon Ultra Magnus, Major Ultra Magnus, Nemesis Prime. Holy shit, that was just the red variants. Jeez Louise! Bumblebee, Energon Bumblebee, High Octane Bumblebee, Classic Bumblebee, Rodimus, Nemesis Hot Rod, Cliff Jumper, Private Cliff Jumper, Cosmos, Grayslam Grimlock, Energon Grimlock, Goldbite Grimlock, Trypticon Volcanicus, Heatwave, Sentinel Prime, Ratchet, Specialist Ratchet, Neon Ratchet, Hound, Special Officer Hound, Ironhide, Security Officer Ironhide, RC, Scout RC, Arachnid, Chromia, Sergeant Chromia, Neon Chromia, Nova Star, Moonracer, Sharpshooter Moonracer, Greenlight, Sergeant Greenlight, Flame War, Sergeant Flame War, Jazz, Ricochet, Blaster, Sideswipe, Private Sideswipe, Neon Sideswipe, Red Alert, Private Red Alert, Sunstreaker, Mirage, Private Mirage, Blue Streak, Prowl, Major Prowl, Neon Prowl, Smokescreen, Beachcomber, Drift, Wheeljack, Engineer Wheeljack, Warpath, Grapple, Omega Supreme, Sergeant Omega Supreme, Private Deadlock, Windblade, Energon Windblade, Alita 1, Nightbird, Sergeant Nightbird, Slipstream, Alpha Trion, Captain Alpha Trion, Superion Cup, Nautica, Energon Nautica, Strong Arm, and Eggbot. If you played the audio of that to sound with no context, it would sound like an insane person. Please remember we'll be going very, very quickly through like 60% of those. Clearly we've gone on long enough. Let's find out which of these birds make me pog, and which ones are worse than a Deceptihog. As always, we get to start with the main man himself, Red as Optimus Prime. Even if you don't know anything about Transformers, there's a pretty good chance you've at least heard of this one. And it's no surprise that this is our first Transformer in the game. Each character has their own strengths in battle, but Red's couldn't be more straightforward. He shoots a single bullet at a regular interval. I really don't know how to feel about Red's design here. It's really not interesting or all that exciting. It honestly leans more towards mediocre if I'm being honest. I also want to draw your attention to the eyes. Each character has a completely different style when it comes to their eyes, and I encourage you to spot each one in the video. The inconsistency just makes them all look out of place, and Red's might be the most out there. Mostly just because literally everyone else has eyes and he's a glowing white squared Cyclops. Anyways, Optimus Prime is one of the weakest versions of his character. Compared to the others, the design is pretty lacking, and sadly I'm going to have to put our first guy in C tier. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Now we get to go through the 6 different versions of Optimus Prime. Amazing. Thankfully they're all nearly the exact same thing, so we can just rapid fire them. First up is Energon Optimus Prime. Slap some blue lines on him and call him new, I guess. Try harder next time, F tier. Ultimate Optimus Prime is barely visually distinct from the regular one, honestly looking way worse, and he has a slower shot? D tier. Epic Optimus Prime isn't even based on an actual character, they just made this one up. It attacks like Grimlock and uses gold and black accents for his color scheme. This one is actually pretty cool, A tier. General Optimus Prime is just a scratched up war veteran version of the regular one, and if you thought that was dumb, almost every character is also going to have a beat up version of themselves. It also cost $20 to buy when it came out. F tier is going to be full tonight. What a name we got here. General Optimus Prime Neon. See, this is what the Energon one should have looked like. They didn't even bother to change its weapon. C tier. Lastly, there's Optimus Maximus. That probably should be considered its own character, but what the heck, I'll just group it in here. This is our first of many giant characters, and they're so huge they don't even fit into the Astro Train. They are officially known as combiners, kind of like Voltron or something. Each limb is from a different character, and all these cars are actually characters in the game, so that's pretty cool. The point of these things is to be massive premium characters that deal a ton of damage, and that could place them towards the top of the list, but what I really hate about the combiners is that they lose the ability to drive. So when you're being shot at, there's no dodge option, you just have to take it. One of the biggest aspects of the gameplay is to turn it into a vehicle, and they can't! Plus, most of these guys get a secondary ability to try to make up for it, but this one just doesn't have one! I'm getting so angry so early, people! Get in D tier! We move on to a new character using Red's design, and did Red just get sexy, or is it just me? There are a few characters in the game that they just took the head of one Angry Bird and swapped it with the animations and body of another. So we have Silver, a female character, now with Red's head on top. It ends up looking like a stretched out Mega Man with Red's face pushed in the middle. It's really just uncanny, not a fan. But he is pretty fun to use in game. While Chuck is usually the speedster, Blur is able to go so fast he slows down time. As a flying car, I suppose that makes sense? Anyways, I like using Blur in game, but he looks really strange, so he can go in B. Ultra Magnus is much more familiar, and I'm angry this doesn't count as an Optimus Prime clone. It's literally Optimus Prime but silver. Well, he does look pretty cool, I hate having to admit that. And he's alright in game, so let's give him a C as well. Oh, you thought we were done with Ultra Magnus? There are two more! First one's Neon! He's not even red anymore! Ah yes, my favorite leader of the flock, Blue. F tier! Major Ultra Magnus. Battle Scarred Ultra Magnus. I had to waste time cutting on an image of this guy's stupid head just to put it in F tier! Happy? The last Optimus Prime is thankfully a pretty fun one. We have an evil Optimus Prime with an inverted color scheme. This guy was released during a Halloween event too, which is pretty dang fitting. Of course, I'm sick of all these Optimus Primes by now. We're like 5 minutes into the tier list and it only consists of one character 12 times. But I gotta give proper recognition to this cool addition. B tier. Oh, you thought just because that was the last one that there wasn't gonna be a Captain Nemesis Prime? Obviously they need to make a darker, less interesting version of the character with the exact same weapon. F tier! Every Transformers noob loves Optimus Prime, but the real fans out there know that Bumblebee is where it's at. I'm almost definitely wrong about what I just said, but I really just wanted to justify why I like him so much. In the original cartoons, he was a little bug car Volkswagen, but in recent times they've changed his vehicle to look like a super cool muscle car. While die-hard fans might prefer the classic look, I gotta say he looks pretty awesome. I love the way the car doors make a wing shape on his back, and the yellow color scheme is really great. He used to not be the strongest character to play as, but more recently received a buff, so I don't actually feel bad about ranking this guy towards the top. I wanted to get through the boring red variants as quickly as possible, so now is a much better time to start talking about the insane cutscene comics in this game. I don't know who came up with these things, but some of them are completely incomprehensible. One of them shows the Astro Train shopping for canned bread. One shows Corporal Pig looking at a butterfly and then exploding. Multiple Pig characters trying to eat Energon Cube sandwiches. Multiple! And the Energon Optimus Prime one is great because it starts with Chuck asking for help, Red glows in the dark for him, and then Chuck sits down and starts reading the paper. Incredible. Anyways, Bumblebee is awesome. A tier. I think from now on, I'll just say Energon, insert character's name here, F tier. So, Energon Bumblebee, F tier. High Octane Bumblebee is pretty visually similar to the evil Optimus Prime, and truly looks just as cool if not more so than the original Bumblebee. A tier. Remember how I mentioned that the original comic version of the character was a little Volkswagen? Well, they've made a classic Bumblebee to fix that. What's funny is they released this to celebrate the new Bumblebee movie, which has a cool muscle car, when the regular Bumblebee in this game already had that model. They got it backwards somehow. Anyways, they didn't change his head or anything, just a car. His weapon is different at least, but I wouldn't say it's remarkably better or worse, just different. I'm thinking C tier. Now we have Rodimus, a completely different character that kinda just looks like a more red Bumblebee. The red is not as great of an accent color, but he's pretty fun to use in game, I think. Let's give him a B tier. Then of course, an evil version of him, who looks exactly like the other Bumblebee, but less interesting. D tier. And who could forget about Cliff Jumper? I wonder what he gets up to in his spare time. Basically, if you want Rodimus to have the Volkswagen model and bigger bull horns, you're gonna freaking love this guy. Unfortunately, I did not ask for either of those things. D tier. And Private Cliff Jumper should have stayed private so he didn't get put in F tier. If this makes you mad, remember people paid actual money to buy a desaturated scratched up Cliff Jumper with no change to his weapon in any way. Please do not waste your money on this game, I beg of you. I was pretty surprised to see Cosmos show up. He's got a body type unlike anyone else, and I was immediately curious what he transformed into. He's a straight up UFO, and that's just amazing. I really love how round he is, and his design is pretty funny. I just have to appreciate a Chuck variant that isn't just Bumblebee repainted. I don't mind playing as him either, so what the heck, give him an A tier. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Dinosaurs are awesome. Hal is my favorite bird. Combine them both and put him on a three-wheeler and call him Grimlock, baby. Grimlock seems like he's as much of a fan favorite as Hal is, so their combination is really a match made in heaven. What other Angry Birds game led to unlock Hal this early? He's a main member of the flock here. The fact that Bomb and Matilda had to wait behind Hal is such a gratifying feeling. Something cool about this game is when you upgrade a character, their appearance changes. For almost everyone it looks awesome, and then we have Grimlock over here with the massive steel beak. His beak was already huge, why put another one on there? But you can't take this away, Rovio. You made perfection and that can't be ignored. I'm not even gonna mention if he's actually good in game or not, I don't care! He has to be S tier. I love Grimlock, but I made it pretty clear I have no tolerance for the Energon versions. I still love Grimlock, so have a pity, D tier. It sounds like Goldbite Grimlock might be better in game, but the super pale gold color scheme for him is really sad compared to the first one. Let's say B tier. Triptychon is our evil Decepticon version of Hal, and I love the idea, but again, can't say the look is cooler than the original. He gets a cool black hole though, so let's put him towards the top in A. Grimlock got a Mega Combiner version as well, known as Volcanicus. I'm already not a fan of these guys. This one in particular looks like Dog Dookie, has no special ability, a super weak attack, and is gonna go in F tier. Heatwave is surprisingly one of a kind. It's pretty nice to see after the 10 or so Optimus Primes. It's funny though, Terrence is typically a fan favorite no matter what. Just look at my tier list, almost every version of him is up there. But if you've ever tried playing as Heatwave in this game, you'll see why he's so hated. He gets one shot every millennium, and the shot isn't even that great. It would maybe even out if it completely destroyed what it hit, but sometimes you gotta attack the same spot 3 or more times. He's way too slow, and no one likes him. His firefighter getup isn't that amazing either. Terrence is known for not moving, so he kinda just stands there. Irish Jig jump scare! I like that his ladder moves his head up and down, but I really don't care for this firefighting slowpoke. F tier. One of the earliest variants in the game is Sentinel Prime, a character so visually similar to Heatwave, they actually acknowledge how Chuck couldn't tell them apart in his introductory cutscene. So you knew they looked the same, yet made no effort to change that. Man, that's how you know they cared about this game. He has 3 lasers rather than 1, but they're all weaker than the single laser, so is it really that much better? Nope! F tier. Speaking of Ratchet, that's also the name of our next Terrence Transformer. This medical bot fixes his low shot, allowing him to actually take down enemies quickly when needed. Sadly, his weapon overheats, making him only a little better than the others. I like his design enough to give him a low C tier. You just couldn't help yourself, could you? A character with no battle scars? People pay money to have one of those. Can't wait to talk about the neon version after this one. F tier. I wasn't freaking kidding. At least he looks a little cool. Not that cool, but fine. D tier. Hound is a pretty badass name. Plus, they finally gave him a decent attack. So, finally, Terrence has received a pretty cool character with a strong attack power, and I'm sure Terrence fans are ecstatic. I'm so happy for you all. Sadly, I don't think Transformers deserves an S tier Terrence. They need to learn their lesson. Hound can still have an A tier. You love ruining good things, don't you? I told you they don't deserve an S tier. I must say they did do a little more than just make him dirty this time. Fine, D tier. The last new Terrence is known as Ironhide. He kinda just looks like a fat Optimus Prime. Not to mention his special helmet he wears. Look, when the character is red, they probably don't look all that interesting if you add more red, just saying. He's another not so great Terrence, so he's gonna go in C. Why not? Terrence really needed 3 scratched up variants, especially when none of them are fun to play as. This one actually looks horrible. F tier. We move on to Stella. Again, it is so cool that Hal, Terrence, and Stella were so prominent in this game. For a long time, every female character out of the game was solely represented by Stella, which is pretty sad. There are more than one female bird people. Thankfully, they since added a few more female characters, but we've got a lot of Stellas to go through now. She rivals Optimus Prime and Bumblebee with the amount of characters to get through. RC was the first, and a motorcycle driving girl boss is a surefire way to make me love a character. Here's the thing though, check out her appearance in the trailer for this game. Now let's look at her in the comics. And finally, her in-game design. Why? She looks amazing in every version other than the games. Tell me why this looks like it was made for the PS2. And those eyes! She could have been so great, and instead she looks like this. Her attack is more about pushing than damaging, which can be good, but not always. I wish it didn't have to be like this, but you're gonna go and see as well. I always thought I wanted a dirty version of Stella, but this is not what I meant! F tier. Now we have Arachnid, another evil version of the same model. I figured she would fly a plane or something, hence the air in her name, but she also just drives a motorcycle. I decided to look up what the actual Transformer looks like and was blown away by how cool it was. If this game tried even a little to make characters look like this, I'd be having a much better time right now. D tier. I got a fawn over one of these Stellas, it's kind of the brand at this point, and Chromia was released for a Valentine's Day event, so what the heck. I hope someday she will be mine. Actually, she kinda is mine. I own her in game now. Finally, the day she is mine is today! My love quest for a boyfriend-free girl is over. Thanks, Chromia. Very cool. She's also one of the better Stellas, so this works out great. S tier. Alright, I can only pretend to care for so long. All it takes is this crappy Sergeant Chromia to break this camel's back. F tier. The only good thing I can say about Neon Chromia is the massive glowing blue eyes finally work here. D tier. Next we have Nova Star, the fire version of our favorite female Angry Birds Transformer. Stella finally gets a new vehicle this time, and we get to see her take wing. I love seeing Stella take wing. B tier. Moonracer is a blue version of the same character who's stronger in game. B tier. Sharpshooter Moonracer is a crappy version of the same character who has no differences, and I hope she drowns. F tier. Guys, we've gotten the green light for another Stella clone. Man, it was really cool when we made her blue. Kinda makes me wish we made her green next. Yes, that's exactly all I've ever wanted. Thank you. Said no one ever. D tier. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Just get an F tier. While thinking about the flame wars I'm gonna have with children in the comments who like Angry Birds Transformers, Stella changed her name to exactly what I was thinking of. This one is the actual evil version of Stella, categorized as a Decepticon. The red is cool, I guess? We're almost done with the Stellas. I'm just gonna put her in D so we can move on. Wow, a desaturated, worse looking version of the character we just looked at. My favorite! Get out of here, I wanna talk about Bubbles now, F tier.
You like jazz?
I love jazz. Thanks, Barry B. Benson. Bubbles gets to be jazz in this game, and I couldn't be happier. I feel like they typically make the cool guy Bomb or Chuck. Bubbles has more of an innocent little kid vibe, so for him to have a sports car and cool pair of shades is really fun. All of his versions have this cool guy personality, and I really love that. If only they didn't make 10 versions of this character, I could actually appreciate it. He's pretty decent to play as too, which makes this an easy S tier for me. Before looking at the others though, I had always heard how cool the telepods of these guys were, but I never owned any as a kid. I felt like having one, and there are literally no other cheap and widely available ones besides this Jazz and Brawl 2-pack. I've had this thing since like September, it's just been sitting on my counter, so it feels great to finally open it. Jazz looks like a completely different character for some reason, and it's pretty sad how little posability this thing has. It was pretty fun that I could switch between the driving and running mode so quickly, and it's nice to have another character to go with him. Now I can make them kiss at least. Don't forget that I can scan him into the game and play as him, which is pretty nice. I wish I had more telepods, but at least I can say I got little old Jazz. Let me know which ones you have in the comments. Ricochet is one of the few color swaps that I think look just as cool as the original, and having the name Ricochet actually matters as his shots bounce off of objects. This doesn't always do something cool, but everyone loves a good trick shot. So far, Bubbles is the best treated character of the bunch. I really hope I didn't just jinx myself. I'll play it safe and give him an A. Blaster ends up stealing Chef Pig's animations, doing this cocky little hip thrust at all times. Could you stop moving for 5 minutes? I'm not as fond of this one as it's a complete copy of Chef Pig just with Bubbles' head on top. He also just looks less cool than his brothers. C tier. Sideswipe's name also relates to his weapon, literally swiping objects as he shoots. It's pretty fun to use, but I'm not too crazy about this design, so B tier. I was wondering when we get another one of these. This one is just rusty and scratched up for no good reason. F tier. I believe this is the most recent character, being added only a few months ago. Wait a second, does that mean this video will be outdated? Aw no, I don't want to have to come back to this crap. This is all your fault, Neon Sideswipe. If you didn't look cool, I'd place you lower than D tier. Red Alert is kind of a weird name for a character. He looks boring, and he's basically got the same weapon as Matilda has. We haven't even gotten to Matilda yet. Wait your turn. D tier. Private Red Alert is an even weirder name. Anyways, you know the drill. F tier. Then there's Sunstreaker, who is the exact same as the rest except black and yellow now. Has this gotten old yet? Let's finish up. There's just one more. C tier. Other than the costume that you can have an island on his head, there's not much to say about Mirage either. He thankfully was given a unique design and car. The Bubbles reskins are getting pretty old. It's still not amazing and it can go in C as well. And Private Mirage. I hate you. F tier. Finally, from this point on, most characters only have 5 or so reskins. It's still a lot, but not nearly as much. The Blues took a little while to join the team, but I think their final look ends up being pretty fun. Sure, Blue Streak and all these other characters taken over by Jay, Jake, and He Who Shall Not Be Named don't typically have 3 heads, but I personally don't mind. Looking at the earliest version of their design in the comics, one of the Blues, obviously Jake, takes the head, while the others are forced to be the feet. That's pretty messed up. Jim should have been the freaking crotch more than anything. I like the change they made here, and some of their animations are really fun, especially the juggling one. It's really cool that they get to drive an invisible car too. Wait, that's not supposed to happen? Oh, well, that car is fine too, I guess. Not as amazing as an invisible one though. I also love that they took the form of Blue Streak primarily, as Blue Streak typically doesn't have an ounce of blue in its color scheme. It just works out so perfectly this way. Their attack has a splitting mechanic, which again is spot on for the Blues. They aren't incredible in game, but I'm a big fan of their appearance here. Let's go A tier. Prowl is a bit less visually interesting, but is a bit better to play as, I think. I'll put them down in B tier. Scratched Up Prowl on the other hand is going in F tier. And Neon Prowl gives the Blues the demonic looking eyes they've always deserved, so let's give them a D tier. Smokescreen gets a pretty cool looking car and a smoke effect with each shot. They're just so colorful. It's nice to see after the mundane major Prowl we had to sift through. B tier. Lastly, the Blues got to be Beachcomber. I wonder what they get up to in their spare time. They are extremely similar to Smokescreen, except now shooting sand rather than smoke. Whoop-de-doo. This is somehow the first blue-based Blues character, which actually looks pretty nice. I'm feeling generous. Let's give them a B2. Just like that, we get to move on to Bomb. There's no way in the modern day that Bomb would be added so late, but maybe they were hoping to entice people to come back and play the game again after his inclusion. He gets to be Drift, the samurai transformer. Sometimes he has this massive thing on his head, and other times he looks much more normal. I've got the normal one, so let's just pretend the other version doesn't exist. I think his sports car looks really cool, and his shuriken weapons not only fit his personality here, but are super effective. The more I've looked into Drift, the more I've started to like him. We also don't have very many S's today, so I think we should give him a little boost. Then we have Wheeljack, who I like to look at quite a bit less. He's still in a samurai pose for some reason, despite wielding a straight up rocket launcher. I must say, he's really fun to use in game. You just can't go wrong with the rocket launcher. I'll put him in A tier. Scratched Up Wheeljack isn't nearly as horrible as the rest, plus he's still got that rocket launcher. He can have a D tier. Warpath is a pretty badass name, but taking a look at his derpy, wallet expression has the exact opposite reaction. He's based on King Pig's body type, making him a straight up tank. No one else has gotten to be a tank yet, so I must say this is an incredible vehicle for a Transformer. It is so unbelievably fun to play as this guy, but as soon as his gun overheats, I clench my fist and go, knock it off! Looking at a, mentally challenged Bomb is pretty amusing, and I kinda wanna say S, but I'll give it an A as well. Congrats on being the 69th bird today, Grapple. Anyways, if you want to know who is the most hated Angry Birds Transformer character, then good news, it's freaking Grapple. More like Crapple, am I right? I actually am right this time! I'm clearly no expert at this game because I played as him and thought he was just fine. He's a Terrence clone, so he walks slow, but otherwise I don't really know what makes him so bad. His yellow and blue color scheme isn't too impressive, and if people really hate him that much, I'm not about to disagree. F tier. Our next combiner is Omega Supreme, which is pretty drastically different from the other bombs we've seen. Feels like he's gotten the most unique look out of everyone, despite having half the body count. This is our first combiner that has a secondary ability, being able to ground pound and wipe out most objects on screen. He's probably the best combiner we've seen yet, continuing our streak of highly rated bomb clones. I'll put him in B. Would you believe it if I told you they made a beta version of a combiner too? You thought we were safe? Think again. Who wouldn't want another Omega Supreme that only makes him look worse? Yep, as tradition, it plays exactly the freaking same. What the hell's the goddamn point, people? F tier. I'm not even gonna say anything for this one. Let's just watch this sick cutscene instead. That makes me laugh every time. S tier. Silver has gotten to be in so few Angry Birds games, so that makes her inclusion here so much more special. We can also thank the heavens that this is her in-game design and not the god-awful movie design she received later.
Have fun being alone!
This really makes her feel like part of the flock, and I'm just happy to see a newer character get added to Transformers. I must say the crown looking thing is really weird to me, and I know that's just what Windblade looks like, but it kinda clashes with the rest of her design. Still, she's a cool plane with a pretty good attack. Let's give her an A tier. It's been a while since we've seen an Energon version show up. Since Silver only has 3 forms, I don't mind this one all too much. It's not like we're sick of Silver or anything, compared to the others this is a gift. C tier. As requested, Silver removes her crown and replaces it with a new helmet. You dropped your crown, queen. This is by far my favorite version of Silver. Her machine gun weapon makes her gameplay so much more fun. I can literally shoot it whatever I want with no repercussions, and the design is awesome. Screw Windblade, this is what Silver deserved all along. S tier. There's this really cool evil purple bird in Angry Birds that I would have loved to see get out of this game. She'd be another female rep, she could fit in with the Deceptihogs, and she has a really cool purple color scheme. Wait, you're telling me they added her? Gale is in the game? Wait, what are you talking about? I was talking about Gale. You mean there's another bird that fits that exact description as well? Who? Wait. No. No, this can't be happening. No. I've avoided this for so long. Please, no. No. No! If you haven't noticed, Zeta has yet to be ranked on our tier list. I've got a few words to say about this freak. Balls! But for now I've been keeping her appearances down to these strange, creepy fan art drawings of her. But I've been left with no choice. They just had to include Zeta in Transformers. I don't even know how to pronounce her name, people. Maybe I should just say Zito from now on.
Cheeto.
If you don't know who this bird is, it's the main villain of the second movie. I don't blame you if you forgot about her either. Zeta is Nightbird, and it's impressive they had a character with bird in it and hadn't introduced them until now. I assume there's some futuristic flying car kind of thing, but it looks like she just fashioned a garbage can into an outfit. It's hard to get more visually boring than this. And look at her face! I can't even tell this is a face. Unless I bring it to the side, she just does not work in this art style. Sadly, her weapon is awesome. Shooting blocks of ice at the enemies is really cool. God damn it, Zito, just let me hate you! Lucky for her, I've got a little surprise cooking up. This is exciting, guys. For the first time ever, I'm adding an extra tier just for a specific character. Let's welcome Zeta to her new home in Zeta tier. Or, as it's shortened named, Z tier. Man, if only Z tier could fit on the screen. Oh well, that's too bad. Guess we'll just have to remember she's down there. Hold the phone, there's more of you? Well, at least Z tier is going to get a bit more use now. Sergeant Nightbird is somehow more bland and uninteresting than the first one. Doesn't really matter what I think of her though. I can't really put Zeta anywhere other than her own dang tier. Of course there's one more. What even is this design, by the way? I can't even tell what's supposed to be on her head. It looks less like a face than it already did. The plane does look pretty fun, but that's it. Join your sisters in Z tier, you witch! Would you believe we have more of the flock yet to see? Peekaboo! Mighty Eagle himself is here too. But what the hell? That's what you guys think he looks like? He went from this to this? A giant, menacing, invincible mass of destruction is just a puny little head on a scrawny body? He should be massive! Well, too bad, we got this instead. Purple and red are a strange color choice for the Mighty Eagle, but I guess any discussion on his looks are pointless. He is undoubtedly one of the most OP characters in the game. Sure, he isn't invincible, and he doesn't just wipe out every level, but he is really good. And although this tier list takes everything into account, I think it'd be dumb to place such an overpowered character lower than S tier. Just know I hate him as a person. Look at him squatting. Just shit already! Captain Alphatron defies all laws of physics by being the only captain, private, sergeant, etc. to not be scratched up. He's still more pale and uninteresting, but is only rusty, not scratched. You realize this makes me hate you even more, don't you? You think you're special? F tier! If any character had to be a combiner, Mighty Eagle obviously makes the most sense. I would have assumed he was only a combiner before unlocking his other forms. This version of him is the most fitting of the Mighty Eagle, and that definitely makes me appreciate him more. His special secondary ability is a set of missiles, which is just a nice bonus really. I still have no respect for the combiners, but a lot of them have a B tier at least. There's also a version of the Mighty Eagle named Cup. We got Silver as Windblade, Zeta as Nightbird, and now a guy named Cup. 2 girls, 1 cup! S tier! The last bird I have to cover is Matilda as Nautica. After all the Stella variants there were, I really have to wonder why they waited so long to include the bird that's in nearly every other game. This game gets stranger and stranger by the minute. And speaking of strange, it is extremely weird to have this slim feminine robot body with Matilda's head on top. It reminds me of that one version of Red with the feminine body type. It just seems out of place. Matilda actually gave players the opportunity to unlock her without premium currency or real money, and that's pretty amazing. Players who have sunk years into the game were given another transformer to work on, and that's a really nice note to end on. Her character's name is Nautica, so she appropriately has water-based attacks, and they're pretty good. I'm really happy with Matilda's inclusion, and I only feel that her design leaves a little to be desired. A tier it is. We couldn't just end on a positive note though, of course not. Quite possibly the least different Energon version ever goes to Nautica. At least she has an acid effect on her attacks now. D tier. Our last playable character of the list is Strong Arm, and honestly what a great one to end on. Matilda gets beefy, and this just looks so much more fitting than her other body type. The red and blue works perfectly for her police car aesthetic. What am I even saying? She's beefy! That's all you need to know! I'm not the biggest fan of her weapon though, as its arc is just annoying to use. I would love to end on an S, but I think a B is more fitting. We're not done yet though. I've historically ranked the eggs as well, so I've got to include the egg bots too. You've probably seen them a few times through the video, since they act as an enemy type in certain levels. They're these pesky, mischievous little guys, causing chaos and mayhem wherever they go. The pigs and birds have sort of teamed up to take them out. The eggs are causing the island to go nuts in the first place. In game though, they're harmless, and your goal is to farm coins from them in the levels they appear in. I've always questioned placing them anywhere other than F tier on the list, mainly because they aren't actually birds, but I suppose everyone here is a robot. Except Zeta, of course. That's what we in the business like to call a freak of nature. But still, after this mess of a tier list, I don't think it's fitting to end positively. The characters in this game piss me off, so instead, it thematically makes much more sense to end our list by putting the egg bots in F tier. Chances are you might have caught on to the fact that I'm not the biggest fan of this game. Don't get me wrong, it isn't all bad, but you can only go through so many reskins of the same character before getting frustrated. These birds disguised as robots in disguise are cool. I only wish they'd put more effort into making each character special. I implore you to look up any Transformers character and put it up side by side with the ones in game. Chances are, if it wasn't the first character that bird was linked to, it looks absolutely nothing like that character. There were some really cool Transformers characters that got done dirty here, and that's hard to forgive. If you love playing this game, more power to you, but I'm personally pretty happy to be done with this list. And speaking of, maybe we should discuss what it means to be done with this list. This is the 5th part of my series of ranking every Angry Birds bird, and there's around 250 to 300 birds on our list now. That is a lot, and technically there are more. We haven't covered games like Evolution or Angry Birds Cheetos, and there's a lot we could do with the movie's characters as well. But I hate to say this, it feels like we've covered most of the birds worth covering. Yes, I know there are a lot of fans of the newly data mined Drill Bird, and there are official space variants of Matilda, Hal, and Stella now, and I'd love to keep going with this series. But it might be best to call it quits, you know? If there's a high demand to make a 6th part, of course I will. But if you're all satisfied, then I think this will make for a nice, big, final wrap up on the longest series on my channel yet. Don't worry, I still gotta rank more pigs. Angry Birds Transformers featured some pretty crazy Autobirds, but that's just one half of the cast. What would the birds be fighting for without the Decepticons? It's a smaller group of characters for sure. 66 is nothing to scoff at, but I'm just thankful we have a shorter list. And a lot of them are, once again, just beat up versions of these same exact characters with no change to their abilities in any way. On one hand, the main Decepticons like King Pig and Chef Pig have very few alternate versions, which is awesome compared to the birds list. On the other hand, that's mostly because 1/3 of them are Minion Pigs. Obviously Minion Pig is just the easiest choice, but come on. Compared to the amount of birds we got, that just seems so boring. I also just want to say I was surprised to see how many non-Angry Birds fans watched the last video, especially when it was titled ranking every Angry Birds bird part 5. But it was awesome hearing actual Transformers fans' thoughts on the characters, and how I sometimes accidentally stumble into a deep cut Transformers reference. I really hope to see you all again in the comments here, and just remember I truly know nothing about the Transformers series, so apologies in advance. Anyways, it was super fun reading all the Transformers names last time, so I'm doing it again. Feel free to skip this part, it makes no difference to me. Our list of Decepticons are Dark Megatron, Energon Megatron, Ultimate Megatron, Lord Megatron, Neon, Bludgeon, Neon Bludgeon, Brawl, Scout Brawl, Shockwave, Energon Shockwave, Major Shockwave, Neon Shockwave, Lockdown, Energon Lockdown, Dead End, Barricade, Sergeant Barricade, Neon Barricade, Soundwave, Energon Soundwave, Major Soundwave, Neon Soundwave, Sound Blaster, Neon Sound Blaster, Breakdown, Galvatron, Energon Galvatron, Motor Master, Menasor, Dragstrip, Scorponok, General Scorponok, and Neon Scorponok. This next group is all Minion Pig. Final stretch though. Starscream, Energon Starscream, Captain Starscream, Neon Starscream, Thundercracker, Sergeant Thundercracker, Neon Thundercracker, Acid Storm, Seeker Acid Storm, Skywarp, Special Officer Skywarp, Neon Skywarp, Sunstorm, Ion Storm, Nova Storm, Seeker Nova Storm, Neon Seeker Nova Storm, Devastator, Sergeant Devastator, Cyclonus, Dirge, Ramjet, Seeker Ramjet, and Thrust. Oh, and I'll also rank the random enemy pigs and the birds that have been added since my last video on the house. Without further ado, let's find out which of these pigs would destroy an Autobird and which ones are just a complete and utter nerd. We start the list with one of the coolest Decepticons out there, Dark Megatron. He just looks so awesome. Those purple spiky horns make for the perfect crown for King Pig. And of course King Pig is Megatron. How could he not be? Because of this, he also gets to be a tank, which is just an objectively cool vehicle for a Transformer to be. His feet are actually tank treads, it's so smart. This is a rare case where I prefer the in-game design to the animated and comic versions of the character. Also, why does every character have a metal nose? Someone please explain this to me. Anyways, I do love this version of the character, but unfortunately, in-game he is definitely not the strongest. He fires a big black hole, toppling any towers within his range and popping any pigs who come near it. A very satisfying power for sure, but I know they get better. Still, for being such an icon with one of the best translated designs, I think I have to say A tier. Unlike Optimus Prime, we didn't get too many duplicate versions of Megatron. Of course, we start with Energon Megatron, which has a nice sing-songy ring to it, and while it's supposed to have the same ability, I tried playing as him and he sucked! Genuinely, he just missed half the time. Typically, these Energon forms are just meant to be better. If you didn't know what the Energon and Neon versions do, they take more damage but can heal when they collect Energon cubes in battle. Makes sense. But if you know me, you know I hate these lazy glowing versions of the characters. It definitely can get worse though. I'll be nice and say B. With a name like Ultimate Megatron, I was really expecting a much more exciting design. It just doesn't stand out. It has a similar weapon to the original, but fires 2 black holes, each smaller but way more powerful. It's just better. The main downsides are how slowly he moves and recharges his attack. For not being as iconic, I'm gonna say B, even if I do like playing this one a little bit more. Again, Lord Megatron sounds awesome, but it's our first scratched out variant on the list. Great! But unlike most of these that have no change to their abilities in any way, they actually made this one different. Still black hole of course, but now the object sucked into the vortex will randomly fall from the sky to deal even more damage. It's a nice gimmick, saving it from a low rating. How about a C tier? Our last Megatron is a duplicate of a duplicate, Lord Megatron Neon. I don't really know why it's called Neon. It not only looks like an Energon version, but has the effect of all Energon types. I guess Neons are just cooler, and to clarify, all Neon characters have the exact same trait as their Energon types. Most of these look bad, but this one's okay. D tier. I am once again left asking what the hell is happening in these cutscene comics, and why aren't the Fork and Knife Transformers playable? Bludgeon is actually the first King Pig character you unlock in the game. I've always really hated the color scheme he has, on top of the whole white face thing. Thankfully his weapon is also pretty bad, so either way he's gonna suck. His triple shot spread can be good on impact, but most of the time that middle shot is all that hits, and it's not strong enough to place him any higher than D tier. Neon Bludgeon is a Neon Bludgeon. I genuinely like the look of him more than his original form. Strangely, he has the same attack as Lord Megatron. So now 3 characters have that ability I didn't even really like. D tier again. Then we have Brawl, sporting some of the ugliest shades of green I've ever seen. I'm starting to get mad that every King Big variant is just gonna have the same freaking weapon. It's Bludgeon again, but without the spread shot. Who cares if it's stronger? It still sucks. F tier. Brawl is the only Decepticon I have a telepod for, but if you saw this telepod, I'm not sure you'd know it was Brawl. It is a completely different shade of green. The head is not even close to the same, and I struggle to call this thing a tank. They attempted to put a gun on the front, but otherwise it is clearly a car. What a rip-off. I feel better and better about that F tier the longer I think about it. It's been far too long since we got a beat-up clone. Thank you, Scout Brawl. Thank you for duplicating a character I hated and made him look uglier, completely stealing the same weapon I hated, and duplicating a spot in F tier. We're already at King Pig's last variant, but it's definitely the best. Meet Shockwave. While his animations are the same, meaning we'll have to watch him ballerina twirl again, he was given a completely unique look, actually attempting to have a character look like how they're supposed to. For context, here's the Bludgeon side by side, and here's Shockwave. On top of that, he has a very powerful laser shot, piercing any pig or structure. I think he's great. I'm throwing out my first S tier. The blue Energon lights are a great look for his design. B tier. Wow, you're telling me Dirty Shockwave has an actually unique ability? 3-shot laser bullets that are actually kinda good? This might be the best lazy ripoff character we've ever seen. B tier. Holy shit, Shockwave's hype train truly never ends. The neon version looks sick. A better Energon Shockwave means A tier in my book. Next on the list is Foreman Pig as Lockdown. I'm happy to report they have nailed my man. Mustache Pig has always been one of my favorites, and he is as cool as ever in this game. It definitely helps they gave him Lockdown, literally driving around in a Lambo. But his metal mustache and eyebrows are iconic. It is hard to get better than this. Even with his face on a fridge, I'm still infatuated with the guy. In game, however, his shots aren't very strong, but they make up for it in speed and quantity. It would be hard to say he's bad, but I'm not quite sure he's the best either. Let's give him a solid A tier. Guys, I hate to ruin the moment, but Mustache Pig Skibbity Toilet is real and I'm really scared about it! Lockdown is already pretty blue, so I'm not a huge fan of Energon Lockdown. Mustache Pig's gonna get a lot of top tiers. I don't feel that bad saying D tier for this one. In his fully upgraded form, Dead End actually looks so freaking cool. Looking at pictures of him when you first unlock him though, I do hate how much he still looks like a car. I'm really glad his chest gets covered up, so much cooler this way. Anyways, I wanted to read about the nuances of abilities on the Angry Birds wiki, but instead I got some insane psychobabble poetry. Can we check on whoever wrote this and make sure they're okay? We are doomed. Dead End has eternal depression and he whines about everything. About the battles in which he participated, about the excessive fluffiness of his mustache, and sometimes about life in general. Okay, that's enough. It's a computer game. About birds. Evil birds. And disguised robots. You have to calm down or you'll break the roof and you'll be like Grandfather's End. Although, what else to expect from the Mustache Pig after the energy egg? Despite eternal pessimism, he always wants to look good, but the other Decepticons only laugh at how he cleans everything, and this makes him even darker. Once in a difficult situation, he always wins that both he and everyone who is around, well, they're doomed. The soul of the company, isn't it? Do you want to know what he thinks about all this Yate boat curl? You don't have to ask. We are doomed. Checking on the weapon in game, it seems to be a big shotgun blast. It's guaranteed at your target and anything else it hits is just a bonus. It's genuinely one of my favorites, meaning we have another S tier on our hands. Now hold on, don't start chanting ACAB just yet. Barricade isn't that bad. He just bullies others for petty reasons and blares his siren for the sake of being loud. He just abuses his power, guys, that's it. Moving on, Barricade takes that triple spread shot Bludgeon had and turns it vertical. Wait a second, how often are you needing to attack things above and below you? Maybe all cops really are horrible. Let's generalize them all based on this one pig and say C. They went really light on the Mustache Pig characters. We're already freaking done. For some reason, Barricade got 2 variations though. Of course, my least favorite one got more. Sergeant Barricade looks horrible and doesn't change a thing. I think it's time to start handing out F tiers. And you'd think making the red and blue cop colors neon would make for a pretty good look, but they did a horrible job. The neon is somehow dimmer than the normal one. F tier. And just like that, we move on to the one and only Chef Pig as Soundwave. Chef Pig isn't a huge Angry Birds character. It's always a pretty slim chance he'll actually appear. Like, how is he not in Angry Birds Go? That generally makes zero sense to me. Regardless, the Pig team is pretty small as is, so I'm extremely glad they gave him a chance. He's just as evil as ever, still planning on taking out Megatron and becoming the new head honcho. Now we get to watch him curl his mustache in literally every variation of his character. Wait, I also just realized he has a normal snout? Why does literally every other pig have a metal snout? Why have the inconsistency at all? Whatever, I don't have time for conspiracy theories. First up is Soundwave, the first pig you unlock in the game. In his fully upgraded form, he gets a lot of yellow accents with its natural blue color, and it's a fun look. I have him pretty well upgraded too, he just decimates entire structures with a single blast. The main flaw is flying enemies can easily hit the guy due to his slow recharges, and he also walks kinda slow. I like this Chef Pig, but it's definitely flawed. A tier. Apparently Soundwave and Sound Blaster, our next Chef Pig variant, fought over an Energon Cube and Soundwave won. Aw, don't worry Sound Blaster, you got a neon version, which acts exactly the same and looks cooler, so it's fine. And Soundwave got one too, because of course he did! He actually has 2 weaker hits, but they're rapid fire, so it mostly felt the same. I'm just gonna say B, he looks worse in this form. Major Soundwave shoots 3 shots? But they're way worse and he looks like Dog Dookie. Okay, D it is then. And just like I said, here's Neon Soundwave, with some cool pink highlights for sure. I also learned that when this character released, he was somehow allowed to be bought for 0 tokens, when all the Warpass characters usually cost $20. This marked the first and only Neon character most players got, since thankfully people typically don't like buying bad battle passes. Read all about this on the Transformers wiki, they keep that thing extremely up to date and it is more helpful than you could imagine. Awesome wiki, cool history, alright character, let's say C. Sound Blaster is a black and red color swap Chef Pig, which is arguably one of the badass color schemes possible. Plus his cassette chest makes a mean grilled cheese. They don't call him Chef Pig for nothing. He gets a crazy 5-shot spread, wiping out the whole screen when necessary. It's situationally better than Soundwave's, but mostly just worse. I'd say another A tier is in order. Neon Sound Blaster is the most evil looking Decepticon out there, just glowing red. Pretty cool, B tier. Breakdown puts Soundwave's head on Bubbles' body, giving him an all-new vehicle type. They do this a lot, but I don't think the other pigs have had any examples of this yet. His weapon is this big scatter shot of pink bars that honestly do quite a lot of damage. I enjoyed playing as him enough to say A tier, and the best part is we are already moving to Corporal Pig as Galvatron. His half-covered helmeted head was just begging to be made into a Transformer. That's probably one of my favorite helmet pigs in Angry Birds history. How can you not? He loves fighting pigs and watching TV? I bet he's watching The Sopranos just like me.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
There are some non-negotiable conditions.
Like what?
You can't have your horse in here.
Why not?
Peter, the horse is here.
Enough about Tony Simpsons. How fun is Galvatron to play as? Well, his laser shot does seem pretty powerful, but otherwise he kinda has every aspect of the character I typically wouldn't like. He walks pretty slowly, once you're out of shots he takes a very long time to recharge, and his laser really only hits the block you aim for. If you're not precise, you're gonna run into problems. I found myself struggling on a fairly simple level. Galvatron seems insanely flawed, so here's hoping Cobra Pig has some better variations. D tier. The Energon version can't fix these issues, if anything he's almost worse. I hate these glowing losers anyways, definitely F tier. Also, I have to mention the most confusing cutscene comic in the game here. Some of them are strange, but this one takes it by a long shot. Motormaster shoots these weird arcs of oil, which is fitting for the character, but literally has no effect to it whatsoever. He's quite possibly one of the most basic, okay characters you could choose from. Pair that with his fully black and purple suit and he goes right down the middle in B. There we go, Corporal Pig finally gets to be a big deal. A very big deal. Our first combiner of the day is Menasor. If you weren't aware, there are big old combined versions of Transformers you can play as in the game, and while they can't actually transform, they make up for it with an extra second ability. But I'm not even kidding, even without that ability, this would easily be one of the best characters in the freaking game. They not only have Breakdown's incredible pink bar bullets, but a little Motormaster oil shot just for fun. He never gets tired, he never stops pounding the ground, and he will never go anywhere other than S tier. Dragstrip just looks wrong. He has little baby arms. I can't help but stare every time he starts dancing. They at least tried something new for Corporal Pig. I don't know why pigs are only allowed to use Bubbles' body type, but I guess that's the rule now. He has a little plasma ball that ricochets off of objects. It sounds bad, but I think there's a homing aspect to it. The ball always hits at least a couple of spots. I really tried to like Dragstrip, but I think I gotta say C tier. Last up is Scorponok. I have no clue how that's pronounced, but I don't care. This guy looks incredible. It's pretty faithful to the actual Transformer, although I cannot see the helmet part of his head as anything but hair. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but he looks like a big pompadoured gooner to me. His weapon is very similar to Galvatron, still shooting a concentrated laser, but it just works better and takes way longer to run out of juice, at least in my experience. It's still not my favorite moveset out there, but I love him so much, he's gotta be an A tier. Like all good things, they had to go and ruin him. Same loadout, disgusting quality, D tier. And of course, Neon Scorponok. Other than the shades, it's once again just worse, D tier. Thanks to the War Pass that I can't believe real people spend real money on, my bird list is now outdated. Obviously, it will become outdated again in the future, and maybe at some point I will cover those too, I don't know. We're not missing much, they're all just neons. Neon Hound, for example. Could be worse, D tier. Neon RC has the exact same problem Neon Chromia had. I can't even freaking tell the difference. Wow, her eyes glow more? Shut up, F tier. Neon Bumblebee is alright, but the original is just so much better looking. They can only make him worse, C tier. I gotta admit, out of all the new Neons, this one's pretty good. Not a lot of orange characters out there, I'm realizing. B tier. And the most recent one at the time of recording feels like a cardinal sin. Neon Private Mirage. I do not care if he looks a little cool. The fact that this isn't based on a regular Mirage, but Private Mirage endlessly grinds my goddamn gears, dude. F tier. And now, every single Transformer is based on the Minion Pig. That is so dumb for so many reasons. The birds continue to get new additions. How is freaking Zeta in here and Ross isn't? Don't try to pretend there weren't options. I have an entire list to prove that they could have added more pigs to the roster. Well, it's too late. Angry Birds, as always, went down a sad, sad path. At least the first few Minion Pigs will be fun, but don't be surprised if I start to lose it by the end of this. The OG is, of course, Starscream. Every other pig so far has been some sort of car, so it's cool to have a flying character. He almost has a patriotic thing going on, but he's more red, white, and gray than anything. It uses something called a null ray, meaning it can stun most enemies, but is super weak when trying to do anything else. It definitely has a use, but it's just really frustrating otherwise, and the stupid effect covers the screen half the time. F tier. Apparently he was fed a big ol' Energon Cube sandwich and it goes horribly wrong. 18 plus gone freaky, gone sexual, gone skibbity, gone. He gets a similar weapon to our next Minion Pig, Thundercracker. It is somehow stronger than Starscream's, it rapid fires and is infinite. You don't ever have to recharge. Actually incredible. B tier. The beat up Captain Starscream shoots blocks at enemies. I have no idea why, but I do have to appreciate some originality. C tier. And Neon Starscream glows in the dark with the same ability. It is just better looking, let's say C2. See, this is why I hate all the Minion Pigs. Look at Thundercracker, then Acid Storm, then Skywarp, then Sunstorm. They are all just recolored Starscreams, without fail. Not to mention the countless scratched up and neon counterparts they received. So here's all I can say about Thundercracker's design. I love getting blue Starscream. I'd love to tell you he makes up for it in firepower, but Thundercracker is insanely weak in every sense of the word. He has a rapid fire shot but barely does any damage. He has no health and I even died trying to use the guy. F tier. And can we please give it up for one of the worst cutscene comics in the game? I only half understand the plot here, but look at Megatron. This is official art, people. Sergeant Thundercracker also got a unique shot? What is this? Rather than blocks, this time he shoots TNT. But not just TNT, they have a null effect too. It's crazy that both these scratched up variants of the Minion Pigs so far are leagues better than the normal ones. B tier. And of course, we needed Neon Thundercracker too. It is barely even neon, but at least he still shoots TNT. D tier. Next we have Green Starscream, Acid Storm. Surprisingly, he actually has acid bullets, dealing little bits of damage over time, so to counteract this, he has the slowest fire rate of all the minion pigs. He's alright, but I gotta say C. Finally, we got another crappy reskin that doesn't change the character at all. Now I don't have to feel bad giving out F tiers. Skywarp is really annoying to use. Against wood blocks, he's the best. With a steady stream of fire missiles, he can burn them up extremely quickly. But there's some delay to his shots, they barely even scratch stone blocks, and because of that, it's a struggle to ever do well with the guy. Besides, what is there to say about the design? The purple looks nice, sure, but I'm already sick of the minion pig and we've barely even gotten started. D tier. Yeah, it's another trash boy with no changes. Easy F tiers are truly the best. And once again, I fail to understand why they even give any characters a neon recolor when they don't even look good. F tier. Sunstorm not only specializes in being yellow, but destroying stone. It's too bad they don't have much of an explosive effect of any kind. Being able to destroy stone is strong, but not really enough to consider them good. Sunstorm is more fun than anything. B tier. Well, it took a while, but we finally got a good minion pig. He still looks like everyone else so far, big surprise there, but he's copied some of Terrence's favorite sky lasers. The beams shoot down at an angle, always hitting more than you even intended to. Unlike Terrence, he's actually pretty fast, and his weapon reloads at a reasonable pace. I cannot believe a minion pig is actually about to get an S tier. Wait. Nova Storm is a girl? I hope one day she will be mine. She uses water bullets that are supposed to quote-unquote displace objects, but it literally just swipes everything somewhat near her completely off the left side of the screen. This pig is unstoppable. I am in love, and I cannot believe I'm giving out a freaking S tier again. I am not even mad there's a Seeker Nova Storm. The more the merrier, I say. Definitely inferior though. Gotta be a B. Okay, we get it now. We have enough Nova Storms now. You can be done now. For me, at this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within my kitchen, Neon Seeker Nova Storm is the newest Decepticon in the game. I cannot wait for Season 29. Maybe then we could get a Neon Captain Sergeant Seeker Stinky Steve next. I don't know why I'm letting this go on so long. I'm already sick of Nova Storm. She's an F tier out of principle. I'm honestly not sure who this character is, but when I was trying to play his breakdown, some random minion pig kept carpet bombing the stage every 5 seconds. I don't even know who this guy is. It's somehow a new recolor of Starscream. I don't understand how they haven't run out of colors at this point. I will rank it when I find out who the freak this is. Let me know in the comments. It's Combiner time once again, and with a name like Devastator, I'm honestly pumped. He's also got a brand new minion pig design, which is greatly appreciated at this point. He's made up of a bunch of construction vehicles, and I really like this off-yellow color scheme. As far as combiners go though, I struggle to see why you'd ever even choose Devastator. He's not bad, his main weapon is just fine, and compared to Menasor, it's no contest. I do like Devastator, and I'm happy to still say A tier. But one just ain't enough, is it? Bloody, beaten up Devastator is equal to the original, except I hate you now. C tier. Next is another new minion pig, Cyclonus. Using the body type of silver, Cyclonus looks super vintage and futuristic at the same time. I kinda love it. Also, is this vehicle just an X-Wing from Star Wars? Silly Angry Birds got their crossovers mixed up. How foolish. Cyclonus also has a weapon type unlike any other, with multiple ways to attack. This smaller laser that still does crazy good damage, or a charge shot that fires a big boy laser. It's cool to be able to charge when there's nothing to attack, but the smaller shot is so good it's not even necessary. For some reason my whole screen shook the second I went into flying mode, so I apologize for the crappy footage. Let's wrap it up then. I love it. S tier. And then, we got the cone heads. Apparently they missed having countless minion pig clones, so they made 3 more. They were added at the same time. This was purposeful. I'd be more mad if they weren't our last playable pigs. What a way to end. Although, their only choice of headwear is freaking traffic cones, which pretty much makes up for all the grievances I've ever had about this game, period. Up first is Dirge, the blue one. We've pretty much already seen this character. He shoots TNT boxes like Sergeant Thundercracker. Not a bad cone head, B tier. Then there's Ramjet, the red and black one. I wasn't expecting much at this point, but holy shit, this thing's demon ray is insane. You can just hold it down and aim anywhere on screen and it will just auto-target to every obstacle and obliterate it. Oh, and did I mention he just creates a shield sometimes? You know, just for fun? Screw shooting TNT blocks, this is what you call a gonehead. S tier. Our last beat-up pick of the day also gets to be tied to one of the best characters in the game. I'll never stop hating these knockoffs, but if we had to get one, I guess Ramjet isn't so bad of a choice. C tier. Our last playable character of the list is Thrust. That's a pretty sick nickname. I'm curious what kind of hobbies you'd have to participate in to receive such a title. Our red and yellow conehead has some seemingly slow shots at first, but it definitely makes up for it in damage. It even causes enemies to be stunned if they can survive the hit. Its recharge time is way too slow to be good though, but he's alright I suppose. Let's give out one last C tier. But of course we're not done. For some reason the enemies of the game are also pigs. Why we have pig on pig action in this game I'm not quite sure. I guess the egg sparks turn them all evil or something. The pig bots are the most basic enemies, but certainly not the only ones. They can also shoot with guns, fly with propellers, swim as sharks, bite as bats, and die in one hit. Harder levels feature stronger pigs, but most are extremely weak and can die from just falling over. They're also a form of currency in the game, which seems a bit cruel, but dead bodies are probably just as dirty as a freaking dollar bill at this point. I'll have to collect some photos of all the random pig bots I can find, and I'll throw them on the list as I see fit. Then of course we have the monoliths, one of the main reasons you have to transform in the game. It's fun to have the little zoom in as they nearly crush you. But let's be real, they totally ripped out the mechanic from Donkey Kong Country, and I truly hate the look of these things. F tier. Mortar towers are a bit more menacing, shooting flaming rocks at you as you fight for your life. These guys are a bit more fun I'd say. I guess I'm okay with them going NC. Let's not forget the bosses either. I'm not going to count the big fat bat boss because it's literally just a big fat bat. But there is a boss pig. This guy is the boss. He reminds me a lot of that one Corporal Pig. Now flying around is just a head. I've never got to fight him myself, but I know just trying to survive his attacks is a challenge. I think he's great. Let's say A tier. Sadly, Professor Pig was never playable, but at least he got to be here, right? His little face is on the menu screen at all times and is in charge of your Energonicons. I already had them all, so he kinda just sat in anticipation for a while. Poor little guy. D tier. But we had to save the biggest and baddest for last, the Unicron Pig. I may or may not have expected a unicorn before reading its title, but I'm very happy it turned out to not be that. When every single level in this game plays the same as the last, it is always a blast to fight bosses, especially ones as cool as this. He's just massive, floating in the background, and you have to give everything you've got to beat him. It feels like such a great way to end our list. The Unicron Pig is the most menacing villain in the game, and for that, he has to be S tier. Now, before we add all these pigs to our old list, there's something people definitely expect me to address. I know I ranked this character way too highly to begin with, and now I'm paying the price. A certain someone present in this image here has been cancelled. All YouTubers are pedos now, it's a trend I don't plan to follow. But we should probably put them in F tier, right? I know you all agree, so let's not even question it. Stella really needs to be taught a lesson. I always knew she was up to no good. Ah, man, it feels good to have that finally settled. Anyways, this was not the conclusion I was expecting to come to, but are the Decepticons just better than the birds? There are way more Autobirds with pretty much every flock member getting a spotlight, and I love that. But most of the characters weren't very good, or just carbon copies of one another. The pigs had that problem too, but way less. Even in the sea of minion pig clones, there were a few diamonds in the rough. I just generally enjoyed talking about this list of characters more than the last time, which is the complete opposite of what I assumed to be true. So I've learned my lesson. Screw birds. This is a Bad Piggies only channel now. Get used to it. Which, yes, does mean we're ranking Bad Piggies very soon, which I'm pretty excited about. Stay tuned. And thank you all for watching. Who are your favorite pigs? Do you prefer the Autobirds or the Deceptihogs? And just how annoying was my lack of Transformers knowledge? I'd love to hear from you. My members are practically begging to get Pig Zonas once more. If you'd ever like to see who you'd be in pig form, then please consider becoming a member of the channel today. Are we done ranking pigs? I know there's a ton more I could rank, but how many more should we rank, really? There couldn't possibly be another spin-off with a large group of pigs that people are obsessed about that I rank super lowly that sooner or later I'll eventually have to talk about. There's no way there's something like that. Although their only choice of headwear is freaking traffic cones, which pretty makes up for all the although their choice of headwear is Although their only choice of headwear is freaking traffic cones, which pretty much makes up for all the grievances I've ever had about this game, period.